Somewhere on this planet, thousands of years before the first toothbrush was ever carved from a twig, a group of humans walked around with teeth that modern dentists would call nearly flawless. No fillings, no braces, no decay eating through the enamel. And yet these people never once brushed, never flossed, never rinsed with anything close to mouthwash. That fact alone should confuse you. But the real explanation goes so much deeper than they just didn't eat sugar. There is something happening inside the ancient human mouth that most people today have never even considered, and by the end of this video, you will understand exactly what that is, and why your own mouth is fighting a battle theirs never had to face. If uncovering the hidden truth about how the human body actually worked before modern life reshaped it sounds like something you want more of, this is exactly the kind of mystery we dig into every single week on this channel. So staying close by means you will not miss the next one. Let's start with the obvious question. How does a species survive tens of thousands of years with zero dental tools and still end up with strong, straight, cavity-free teeth in most skeletal remains researchers have studied? The answer is not luck. It is not better genetics. It comes down to something far more basic and far more uncomfortable when you compare it to how we eat today. Ancient human diets were built almost entirely around whole, unprocessed food, roots pulled straight from soil, tough meat that had to be torn and chewed for minutes before it could even be swallowed, nuts that needed to be cracked and ground down by the jaw itself. There was no soft bread, no refined flour, no sugary drinks, none of the sticky, starchy, easily fermentable food that modern mouths are surrounded by constantly. And that distinction matters more than almost anything else in this story. Tooth decay is not caused directly by food. It is caused by bacteria in the mouth feeding on sugars and starches, then producing acid that slowly eats through enamel. Modern diets are loaded with exactly the kind of fuel those bacteria thrive on. Ancient diets, by comparison, gave those bacteria almost nothing to work with. Less sugar simply meant less acid, and less acid meant enamel had a real chance to stay intact for an entire lifetime. But that is only part of the picture, and here is where it gets stranger than most people expect. The act of chewing itself was doing something for ancient humans that we have almost completely lost today. Every bite of tough meat, every crunch of a raw root vegetable, every crack of a nut shell was putting real mechanical stress on the jaw and teeth. That constant grinding action helped keep teeth naturally worn down and aligned. It is one of the reasons researchers studying ancient skulls rarely find the crowded, crooked teeth that are so common in people today. Modern food is soft. It barely requires effort to eat. And a jaw that never has to work hard growing up often does not develop with enough space for every tooth to sit where it should. Think about that for a second. The very softness of the food you eat every single day might be quietly reshaping the structure of your jaw in ways that ancient humans never experienced. Now here is a question worth sitting with for a moment. If you had grown up eating only what nature handed you directly raw, tough, unprocessed, do you think your own teeth would look different today? Drop your honest guess in the comments, because the answer might surprise you more than you expect. Saliva played a bigger role in this story than most people realize too. Chewing tough, fibrous food triggers significantly more saliva production than chewing something soft and processed. Saliva is not just there to help you swallow. It constantly washes bacteria off the surface of teeth and helps neutralize acid before it has a real chance to damage enamel. Ancient humans, simply by eating the way they did, were unknowingly giving their mouths a natural cleaning system running almost around the clock. None of this means ancient life was some kind of dental paradise, though. It absolutely was not. And this next part is where the story takes a darker turn. While cavities were rare in many ancient populations, that tough diet came with a brutal cost of its own. Constant chewing of hard, gritty, unprocessed food wore teeth down at a rate that would shock a modern dentist. Researchers examining ancient remains frequently find teeth worn down almost to the gum line, sometimes exposing the sensitive inner pulp of the tooth. That kind of wear did not happen slowly over an entire lifetime either. In some cases it was visible by early adulthood, and when that wear exposed the inner nerve of a tooth, There was no dentist, no anesthesia, and no numbing gel waiting to help. An infection that starts inside an exposed tooth can spread into the jawbone itself. And archaeologists have found skulls showing exactly that kind of damage. Abscesses that ate through bone with nothing available to stop them. In a world without antibiotics, an infection that modern medicine would clear up in a week could become a life-threatening problem within days. This is the part of the story most people never hear, because it does not fit the simple version of ancient people had perfect teeth. The truth sits somewhere much more complicated. Their diet protected them from one kind of dental disaster, while quietly setting them up for another. If a story this layered is catching your attention right now, that reaction is exactly why leaving a like on videos like this helps more people stumble onto the same kind of surprising history. So if this one is doing that for you, now is a good moment to tap it. It is also worth pointing out that ancient humans were never one single group living the exact same way. Skeletal evidence pulled from different regions of the world tells noticeably different stories, depending on what people in that area were actually eating. Populations that relied heavily on gathered plants, tubers, and gritty ground foods often show more extreme tooth wear than groups that leaned more toward meat and fat. Coastal communities eating a lot of shellfish and fish sometimes show a different pattern of wear entirely, shaped by grit and sand that came along with that kind of diet. There was no single ancient dental experience shared by every human on the planet. There were thousands of slightly different experiments in survival, each one leaving its own unique signature behind in the teeth researchers study today. There is also something worth mentioning about how ancient humans may have handled dental problems when they did happen. Evidence from certain ancient sites suggests some communities used sharpened tools, likely flint, to scrape decay or infected material out of a tooth, an incredibly painful and risky procedure by any modern standard. Other findings point to twigs from specific trees being chewed and used almost like a crude toothbrush, breaking down into soft fibers that could help remove debris from between teeth. It is far from confirmed that this was widespread behavior across every ancient population, but the evidence that does exist tells us something important. Even without understanding bacteria or infection the way we do now, some ancient humans clearly recognized that something needed to be done when a tooth started causing pain. There is one more detail that rarely gets mentioned, and it might be the strangest piece of this entire puzzle. Researchers studying ancient jaw remains have noticed something almost impossible to find in a modern mouth: enough room. Ancient jaws were typically wider and more developed than the average jaw today, largely because that constant chewing during childhood encouraged stronger bone growth in the face and jaw itself. Wisdom teeth, the ones so many people today have surgically removed because there simply is not enough space for them, usually had plenty of room to grow in without ever causing a problem. The tooth crowding, the impacted wisdom teeth, the need for orthodontic work that feels almost normal now, none of that shows up nearly as often in ancient remains. It raises an uncomfortable possibility. Maybe a large portion of what dentistry treats today is not really about bad luck or bad genes at all. Maybe it is mostly about a jaw that never got the chance to develop the way it was built to. Here is something else worth thinking about before this video wraps up. Every time you reach for something soft, sugary, or heavily processed, you are making a choice ancient humans never had the option to make. Their mouths were shaped entirely by necessity. Ours are shaped by convenience. And the difference between those two things might explain more about your own dental health than any toothbrush ever could. So here is the real answer to the question this video opened with. Ancient humans were not walking around with perfect teeth because some secret hygiene trick lost to history, and they certainly were not doing anything a modern dentist would ever recommend. Their teeth were a direct reflection of a diet built on effort, toughness, and almost zero refined sugar, a diet paired with a hidden cost of extreme wear. When things went wrong, almost no way to fix it. It is a trade most people today would probably never choose to make, but it explains something that has puzzled researchers and casual observers alike for years. If this uncovered something you did not expect, there is another question sitting right behind it that might be even stranger. What actually happened when one of these ancient humans broke a bone, with no cast, no surgery, and no modern medicine anywhere in sight? That story is coming next, and the answer is not what most people assume. It involves a level of pain, patience, and improvised healing that most of us today, sitting comfortably with modern medicine one phone call away, would struggle to even imagine surviving.